I was 16, the night my own mother told me to get out of the house. No yelling, no tears, just her standing in the kitchen, arms crossed, telling me I had 15 minutes to pack my things. I remember asking her what I did wrong. She wouldn't look at me. She just said, "You know exactly why." At the time, I thought it was about my grades or the argument we had earlier that week, but that wasn't the real reason. The truth is, someone I trusted had been talking behind my back for months, someone who lived under the same roof, and they told her something about me that wasn't just twisted, it was a lie that changed everything. I didn't find out what that lie was until years later, and when I did, it explained why she never called me after that night.
Before that night, my life was normal. Not perfect, but normal in the way most teenage lives are. I lived with my mom in a small, quiet house on the edge of town. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. I'd lived there since I was a kid, and I honestly thought I would graduate high school from that same bedroom I'd grown up in. My mom, Karen, was strict, but not cruel, at least not back then. She worked long hours at a medical office and liked things done a certain way. Clean house, good grades, no trouble. We argued sometimes, mostly about dumb stuff like chores or my phone, but nothing that ever felt dangerous. I never imagined she'd stop being my mom over an argument. Then there was my stepfather, Dave. He'd been around since I was 12. Quiet guy, always polite. He stayed out of family drama and mostly kept to himself in the garage or watching TV. We weren't close, but we got along. He'd nod at me, ask how school was, and that was about it. I never felt unsafe around him. If anything, he felt invisible. I also had a younger half-sister, Lily. She was 8 at the time and obsessed with drawing and cartoons. She followed me around everywhere, always asking me to help with homework or sneak her extra dessert. To her, I was just her older sibling, not a problem, not a burden. I loved that kid more than anything. School was average. I wasn't a straight A student, but I wasn't failing either. I had a small group of friends, a part-time job at a grocery store, and plans that felt real to me back then. I talked about moving out someday, going to college, maybe traveling. My mom would roll her eyes and tell me to focus on finishing high school first. At home, things felt steady. Dinner most nights, TV on in the background, the same routines over and over. There was no screaming, no threats, no warnings that something was wrong. If anything, the house felt quiet in that heavy, boring way that makes you think everything is fine.
Looking back now, there were moments that didn't quite fit. Short conversations that stopped when I walked into the room, glances exchanged between my mom and Dave that I didn't understand at the time, but I brushed it off. Adults had their own world, and I didn't think I was part of it. I truly believed that house was my safe place, and that belief is what made what came next hurt so much more. Things didn't change all at once. That's what made it confusing. If there had been a big argument or some obvious mistake I made, at least I could have pointed to it. But instead it was small stuff, quiet stuff, the kind you don't notice until it's already everywhere. My mom started acting distant. Not angry, just colder. She'd answer questions without looking at me. Simple things like, "How was school?" disappeared. Some nights, she wouldn't even say goodnight. I told myself she was just tired from work. She always was. Dave stopped talking to me altogether. If I walked into a room, he'd suddenly find a reason to leave. If I tried to joke with him the way I used to, he'd barely respond. Once, I caught him watching me with this strange, unreadable expression, and when our eyes met, he looked away like he'd been caught doing something wrong. Even Lily felt it. She asked me one night why Mom was mad at me all the time now. That question hit harder than anything else. I laughed it off and told her everything was fine, but my stomach didn't believe me. Little rules started appearing out of nowhere. I had to text if I was 5 minutes late. I couldn't have friends over anymore. My phone had to stay in the kitchen at night. None of these rules were explained. When I asked why, my mom would just say, "Because I said so." And there was something final in her tone that shut me up. I started replaying everything in my head, searching for the moment I'd messed up. A bad grade? A lie I forgot about? Something I posted online? The harder I looked, the less sense it made. The house itself felt different, quieter, tighter. Conversations stopped when I walked in. Doors closed more often. I began eating faster, talking less, trying not to take up space. One night, I overheard my mom whispering on the phone. I couldn't hear everything, just my name over and over. I stood frozen in the hallway, heart pounding, then went back to my room and stared at the ceiling for hours. By the time that final night came, I was already bracing for something bad. I just didn't know what it was. The night it happened, everything felt strangely calm. Too calm. My mom called me into the kitchen. Dave was already there, arms crossed, staring at the counter. "We need to talk," she said. My chest tightened. "Something has come to my attention," she continued, "and I need you to be honest." "I don't know what you mean," I said. Dave finally spoke. "Don't play dumb." My mom slammed her hand on the counter. "About what you've been doing," she said, "behind our backs." "I haven't done anything," I said. "She told me everything," my mom said. "Who?" I asked. "Your aunt," Dave answered. Then my mom said it. The accusation that didn't make sense, the lie that didn't belong to me. I denied it immediately. I begged her to listen. I told her it wasn't true. She shook her head. "I don't feel safe with you here anymore." Then she said it. "You need to pack your things and leave. Tonight." I waited for her to take it back. She never did. I left with a backpack and a trash bag of clothes. I slept on a friend's couch that night, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand how a family could disappear in under an hour. The years after were hard. I learned independence too early. I worked more, trusted less, and grew up faster than I should have. My mom never called. The silence hurt more than the words ever could. Years later, the truth finally came out. Not from my mom, not from Dave, from a relative who felt guilty enough to admit it. The story that got me kicked out wasn't just exaggerated, it was completely made up. My aunt had told my mother that I was sneaking people into the house, lying constantly, and saying inappropriate things about Dave behind their backs. She painted me as a troubled kid who couldn't be trusted, someone who was dangerous to have around the family. None of it was true, not a single part. She did it because she didn't like me, because I was difficult, because I didn't fit the image of the quiet, grateful kid she thought I should be. And instead of asking me, instead of protecting her child, my mom believed her. By the time I learned the truth, the damage was already done. I had spent years thinking there was something wrong with me, that maybe I really deserved to be thrown away that easily. Knowing the truth didn't fix the past, but it finally gave me peace. Getting kicked out forced me to grow up fast. I learned how to survive without a safety net. I learned that adults don't always tell the truth, and family doesn't always mean protection. I don't carry anger anymore, just clarity. because the hardest lesson I learned that night wasn't how to live on my own. It was realizing that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who believe the lie. If this story meant something to you, consider subscribing. These are real stories, real pain, and real lessons. And if this helped you feel less alone, then it was worth telling.